Well, hello and kia ora everyone, my name's Royden from Primal Fires, and I just wanted to put together a quick video to help talk you into buying one of these and why you must have one of these cooking weapons in your life. So more specifically, I want to talk about masonry ovens, big heavy grunty ovens made out of bricks and mortar and stone, and why they're so effective at cooking. And why you should choose one over, say, a lighter weight, more convenient sort of model that you can just sort of lift in place. It might be a lighter grade of masonry, or it might be a steel oven. So I want to talk a few of the different aspects. I mean, look at this fella, it's 1 million BC and he's smashing out a pizza. So these things have been around for a very, very long time, and for good reason. So chances are, if you're watching this video, you're part way down the conversion process, I'd call it. But maybe you need a few more reasons to put the time and effort into making one of these ovens, or perhaps you've got a partner who's a little bit resilient to you getting into another project. But maybe I can give you a bit more ammo to get them over the line. So firstly, let's look at the cooking aspect of these ovens. So look, these things were perfected by the Romans, and they didn't have electric ovens in their kitchens and things. You know, the village used to come out and everyone used to do their cooking in them. They didn't even really have pizza in those days. So the actual concept of what we call a pizza oven is really a wood-fired oven. And once we start thinking about them like that, we'll begin to understand that it opens up a whole new world of opportunities for cooking. So anything you can do on your electric cooking or electric oven inside, you can do on steroids in these ovens. So there's two different aspects to it. There is thermal mass and there is the high heat. So that's the two most important aspects of these ovens. So when we look at what you can cook, well, of course you can do pizzas. You can do unbelievable pizzas. The soaring temperatures you get to just make them absolutely delicious, no matter what they've got on them, really. Then you can get into barbecue food. So you can sear your steak from both sides, or you can cook your sausages so that all the beautiful juices are caught inside the food. You can do risottos or paella dishes, so you can do baking. Baking is just phenomenal because of the thermal mass in these ovens, which is what I'll cover off soon. So your breads, your scones, your muffins, whatever you're into, they just do a fantastic job of cooking. So you can get into smoking. We saw a few faces light up there. Yeah, so smoking with these ovens, because it's a confined chamber, we can generate smoke to do slow cooking and that sort of thing. So I'll cover that off in some of the videos. You can do frying, you can do stir fries, Asian dishes, beyond belief, beautiful, beautiful foods. So there's a massive range. You can do stews, or you can do like a potjie, or use a cast Dutch oven. Now let's not forget roasting. Roasting is hands down my favourite way of cooking in these ovens. You can have a massive flame licking over the top of the dome and searing the top of vegetables, or cooking that chook through, or you can let the heat die right down and you can slow roast the most delicious ribs you've ever had in your life. It just brings out the flavours, and it just absolutely makes roasting a breeze. You'll spend the rest of your life, once you have one of these ovens, exploring the rabbit warren of different things that you can cook. So let's not forget that these things have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and with that comes a whole lot of experimenting, a whole lot of different foods that you can do. So they really are a cooking adventure. They're just so cool, just so cool. So let's look at those two most important factors. First, we'll cover off thermal mass. So why is thermal mass important? What does it do? So the thermal mass is the ability for a material to absorb and basically retain and release heat. So think of these ovens as a battery bank. So the internal dome and the floor create a storage system for heat. So basically, when you have the fire, the reason these things take a while to heat up, so an hour and a half, 2 hours sort of thing, is that the fire takes, or the material inside the oven takes a while to absorb that energy. And the energy must be evenly spread through the material to create an even cooking experience. It's the inside dome here, and running across the floor, it is the density and the weight of that material that I'm talking about when I'm referring to thermal mass in these ovens. Your oven inside your kitchen, chances are it might be a convection oven. It's got a little fan at the back. It's designed to blow hot air around, and now that is designed to replicate what these ovens do. So the whole oven heats up, and that becomes the whole way that the food is cooked. So you cook through radiant energy and convection. So, and I'll cover off a few of those different heating methods soon. So that's where the balance comes from. If you don't have that thermal mass, you can't have the same cooking experience, and it doesn't open up the same avenues. If you're using a steel oven, well, parts of them will heat unevenly, so a part will cool down quicker, so you'll have one side that's hot and one side that cools down, and that creates unevenness across the oven. So if you were cooking bread, one side would be more well done than the other, to give you an example. So thermal mass becomes really, really critical in how these ovens operate. So to give you a general idea, this is our smallest oven. This is the 600. With the space slab, you're looking at about 750 kilos of weight. So it's quite a bit. The 800, which is the next size up, with the slab, you're getting close to a ton. So a lot of weight, a lot of thermal mass, and you've got to make sure your stand is strong enough to be able to hold all that up. Now, not all of that weight is actual cooking thermal mass. To give an example, in our 800 oven, which is our most popular, about 250 kilos of thermal mass for the floor and the dome. So it gives you a bit of an idea. That's your size of your battery. I see cheaper ovens out there, they might be finished ones, and they say, oh, the oven's 300 kilos. But hey, 200 kilos of that is actual base, and another 50 is actual plaster that goes over the top. So be very careful. They don't have the thermal mass. And where these ovens get very technical is where you're trying to contain the heat of that thermal mass. So that becomes very, very critical. And that's when you need the excellent insulation. That's when you need the outside mortars that can handle the heat pressure and the expansion. So that's one of the critical things to look at when you are purchasing one of these ovens. So that is the key to these ovens. You can create more or less thermal mass. So the more thermal mass you have, the longer the oven takes to heat up, but the longer it takes to cool down. The less thermal mass you have, the quicker it heats, but the quicker it will cool down. So that's a balance that you can find for yourself. Our packs are designed to find a mid-range in that point, but that'll be covered in a different video. So if you're using the cardboard mould, like in our build system, you can obviously tailor the amount of thermal mass by putting on more or less bags of mortar. Simple. The second major point for these ovens is the high heat that they operate at. So that is super, super critical. So when you're talking about your energy bank, you're going to raise that whole inside dome to like 450, 500 degrees. Just incredible stuff. You know, when you think about how hot it is when you open your oven at home and it's 200, 250 degrees, imagine doubling that, and that's what these do. So that energy bank absorbs all that heat to that degree, and then we're ready to cook. Well, different types of cooking anyway. You might not want to take the energy that high, but generally speaking, if you're doing pizzas or frying and things like that, you're going to utilize the full extent of it. Now you're going to put pizzas in there when the oven is just screaming with heat, so it's going to just blast that pizza. It's going to shoot moisture out of the dough. It's going to make it nice and crispy. It's going to lock all that nutrients in the food and bring out the sugars that just make that pizza so delicious. So that's key to it. Or you're barbecuing and things, that high temperature really sears the outside, which seals in all the goodness. And then you're quick cooking things like your vegetables and things like that, which really locks in that nutrients and provides that extra taste. So you can run the oven a bit smoky if you want, or you can run it clean, so it depends what flavour you like in there. So you might want to knock out some chips, so some people like them smoky, some people don't. So you're just going to have so much fun exploring and going through what you can do with these ovens. But that high heat is really critical, and the heat over the whole cooking area, not just in one specific spot. Obviously you're going to get a lot of heat from your fire, which is important when you're doing like a rotisserie or you're doing kebabs or something like that, but generally having that evenness of high heat over the whole dome is really critical, and that's what you can miss out on when you've got a steel oven. Now I'll just break off and show you some pretty pictures about how these ovens cook. So there's 4 different heats that they generate, so let's have a quick look at that now. What makes wood-fired masonry ovens so fantastic at cooking is the fact that they use 4 different kinds of heat to do their cooking. So you're looking at conduction, convection, flame roll, and radiant. Now, your conduction, that's the immediate contact that a food might have with the floor. So, for instance, the fabrics on the floor heat up, and that heat gets conducted up into the base of the pizza that you're cooking. You get convection, which is a movement of air through the oven itself. You get the flame roll, so this is where you have flame might be licking up the side of the pizza oven, and you want to crispy the top of your food. And then you get radiant heat, which is the heat build up in the thermal mass of your oven. So a lack of thermal mass or an uneven thermal mass or a material that can't absorb a lot of heat just can't create that radiant heat, which is just critical. So most ovens out there are pretty good at providing a level of conduction, so they use primarily a fire brick floor which absorbs energy and pushes it back into your food, and they obviously can cook with a flame roll because you have an active fire going on in the background. But it's that consistent convection and it's that consistent radiant heat that sets masonry ovens apart. Now when it comes to food quality and quantity, it's normally opposing forces, but not with these ovens. So if you're looking to entertain a large crowd, then these ovens are just incredible. So the record for these ovens is 62 pizzas in 60 minutes. So they were feeding 100 people and they're heading off for a concert, so they had a chef there working away, but you can just cater to so many people. There's no reason you can't put 6 chooks in there, or you can't stir fry really quickly a whole lot of different foods. But that's what you get when you have one of these ovens, is the ability to just do a pizza for yourself or just a family, or you can entertain a whole group of people. That's how versatile these particular ovens are. Now this sort of cooking is hit and miss, and that's what makes it fun. So, you know, the Romans didn't have thermometers. They had to use intuition to know whether the oven was ready. You know, you get your hand near the inside of the oven and it takes all the hairs off your hand. That's how I can tell mine is ready to go for pizza. Everyone has a different way of doing it, but you're gonna get in tune with your oven. You're really gonna come to understand it, and that's part of your relationship that you'll build with it. So yes, you will have a relationship with your oven if you're doing it right, but it's it's one of those things that you can enjoy, that hit and miss part of cooking, and that's part of the adventure. You're going to incinerate something and then you're going to create something that you just wouldn't believe, or just by trial and error all of a sudden something's going to come right and you're going to eat the greatest bread for the rest of your life. So that's all part of this incredible adventure. Now I can almost guarantee you're going to have more friends. Not quite, but almost guarantee, because who turns down the opportunity to come over for wood-fired pizza oven evening? You just don't. So you're going to have more social gatherings, you're going to have more people around, you're going to have more people want to come around. And it becomes easier to entertain because everything's outside, you've got a focal point, you can get people involved in making the food, you can get people involved in cooking the food, you can get people stoking the fire. There's always a couple of pyromaniacs in there that are keen to get stoken and make that fire a little bit big, so be careful. But yeah, that's all part of that social adventure, you know. It's getting kids off the iPad, it's getting them out here and engaging with the fire. You know, I've had kids come over and they ask whether they can reach in and play with one of the orange bits in there, the boiling hot embers. So, you know, it shows that they perhaps need a little bit more outdoor education. But hey, look, if they make their food and they're involved in making the food, even from making the doughs for the pizza to making their own cheesy weezy pizza to helping cook it to eating it, it just gets them out there doing it, and that is just so important. You know, we've got to look at how many thousands and thousands of years fire is etched into our DNA. You know, it just, you'd be amazed. As humans, we've kind of lost the intuitive knowledge of fire, but it comes back quickly. It's in there, it's deep inside. And you know, I'll be out here having a fire and my wife will come and ask what I'm cooking, and I'll suddenly look a little bit surprised, but I've just come out here to have a fire, to be honest. I just love it so much. I hadn't actually thought what I was going to cook. I just felt like I needed that break. I needed that mental break to get out here and have a fire. And it's, well, they call it the old bush TV, but it's really about connecting with things again. And an oven that you build, you build a relationship with it. You know, it's got your handprints on it. It's got your blood and sweat in it. Probably not too much blood actually, but you really, that's a part of your relationship with the oven that you build over time. And you know, when you have the fire, you feed it. It's a natural thing. It's a bit of smoke. It's that heat. You feed it, and then the oven feeds you, and that's the fantastic part of having one of these ovens. I really can't emphasize how much these things add to your life if you get stuck in and use them. I sell a lot of these ovens to people with tiny homes because it opens up a whole new level of entertaining for them that they can't do. You know, they can't herd everyone into their tiny home, so they create an area outside. Let's talk a bit about the aesthetics of these ovens. So they are such a timeless look. You know, are you ever going to get sick of looking at them? There's an old saying, there's no such thing as an ugly oven. So, but you know, with my kits, you're going to get a great looking oven, and it's really going to become a feature for your outdoor living. So ovens like these, they add value to your house. So they're not something that goes rusty in the garage. They're not something that sits around and looks awful. They really are a feature of your house. So how many times can you say, I've added some real value to my house by doing this project? You know, so it's like putting on a deck or putting on a shelter or something. These things add value, and so when you go to sell, you know, you'll be pretty sad because you're connected with your oven, but you know how to make another one, so you can get one where you're going. You know, something that costs 2 or 3 grand to put in place, you get back tenfold when you sell your house, because people realise the value that it adds to their lives, and so many people want to have these ovens. It's quite amazing. Another feature of these ovens is that they're quite high, so it tends to traverse or take the smoke away. Another thing with thermal mass is that once you've built that heat up in the oven, the wood ignites very quickly and they tend to burn almost smokelessly. You know, there's very little smoke coming out of these ovens when they're operating at full temperature. So the first sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, you might get a bit of smoke as your fire starts up, but that eventually dies away and you just get small puffs of smoke as you add new wood onto the fire. They're very well enclosed, so what that means is they can be used in sort of adverse weather conditions. Generally speaking, you face the oven back towards the prevailing wind, so here, it's westerly up here, you'll find that the wind comes through and hits the back of the oven there, and I use the door to manage the smoke and heat within the oven. So opens up a few more opportunities for you Wellingtonians. I sell a lot of ovens down there because people appreciate you can't necessarily have a wood-fired, open, charcoal burning thing when it's so windy. So, and also look, if it rains, you know, it's you can still cook pizzas in the rain. So there's certainly opportunity there to continue using them when the weather's a little bit adverse. These ovens are really an investment in yourself. You know, take some time out. Just relax. Enjoy your food. Enjoy cooking. Enjoying being with fire. Enjoying your friends, your family. Look, they take a little bit longer to heat up than an electric one or a gas one or whatever, but hey, it's worth it. It's an investment in yourself, and it's just good for the soul. It just feels so good when you're working with these ovens. I hope you are one step closer to taking the plunge of doing one of these projects, because I can assure you, you will never regret it, and you'll never regret buying quality. So I've put a huge amount of time and effort into making sure these ovens are not only brilliant to cook in, but they're also as easy as possible to build. So I've done a huge video series. Feel free to jump on and watch them. I open them up to everyone, and people all around the world ask me questions. But they're there so you can have a good look at it and understand what you're doing before you get into this adventure. But hey, take the plunge, get one of these in your life. I'm going to make a couple of pizzas now. I've made this fire to do this video, but it's just made me so hungry, and I've got a roaring 500 degree oven in there, so I might as well do something with it. But I can just smell the food. Oh, look at that pizza. Just delicious.